But I think in making customers aware of why purchasing something that does not generate waste is important, just makes consumers a little more conscious in their choices. It's important that you are in alignment with the way that the company works and the way the company thinks. Take the effort to understand the brand. What is the brand's intent? Who are the
Yeah.
founders? What do their backgrounds look like? What is their intent when it comes to starting this particular brand? I feel with Bare Thoughts, that's been the intention to kind of spread the word of sustainability.
Uh, Final question. Given $1 billion, what sustainability problem would you want to solve?
I'm going to sound like a broken tape recorder here, but waste. Yeah.
Hello, Veena. Welcome to the Positive Planet. How are you doing today?
Hi, Vedant. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's so lovely to be here. I'm doing very well. Thank you. What about you?
I'm good too. Looking for an exciting conversation here. And with that comes my first question, which just let's just understand what bare necessities is all about. Well, I know about it. Many people might have heard about it, but for someone as a novice to bare necessities, uh, simple intro would be as a place to get zero waste products that are sourced sustainably, all organic. But can you please expand on what areas does bare necessities focuses on?
Of course, it was born out of this need to really kind of create everyday use products which are zero waste by design. So, a lot of the landfills that you see out there essentially turn into these mountains of waste because of these everyday mass consumed products, right? And we wanted to kind of design products that do not generate waste to begin with. So, how do we do that? Essentially, our packaging, let's maybe start with the packaging because that's what essentially lands up at landfills, right? So, in terms of packaging, we use entirely recyclable, compostable, and reusable packaging. So that includes things like glass jars, which are infinitely recyclable, compostable paper packaging, which you can literally just tear, put it in your compost, and you're kind of done, right? So by virtue of using products that are packaged in this way, essentially, you as a consumer are not putting any waste into the planet. You're putting it back into cycle all the time. It's essentially the concept of circular economy. So that's on the packaging front. And on the product front, we try to use ingredients, and we use ingredients that are entirely non-polluting, that are high quality and are ethically sourced. And by doing so, you're using a product as a consumer which is gentle on your skin, but also kind towards the planet. So, I mean, on one side, of course, there's products, but we also try to take an education first approach with our products. And we also have a sustainability education wing. And that is through our online courses, talks, workshops, that we host and we do. So we take these two approaches to kind of speak to customers about how they can be more conscious in their consumption and be a little kinder in their choices that they make on an everyday basis.
All right, that sounds interesting. I've heard of brands who are doing similar kind of products, of course, but this education first approach that you talked of, is it something unique to Bear?
We would like to think so. We saw the need to really do it, and it's important to understand from a consumer perspective why it's important that you make these choices, right? It's very easy to buy off the shelf products, and there are plenty of those, and we're really spoiled for choice in today's
Yeah.
world, right? But I think in making customers aware of why purchasing something that does not generate waste is important, just makes consumers a little more conscious in their choices. And especially when you have the capacity to make that choice, why not make it, right? And I think by making people aware of that, we've also seen a growth in the number of customers whom we interact with being more mindful about their choices. When we started, of course, that awareness was there, and we saw the need to create that. And once we built that awareness, right now when we speak to customers, we see them all the more conscious of their choices. We see customers messaging us saying, I purchased from here because y'all don't have plastic in your packaging. So I also feel that customers are also maybe inundated with so much plastic on an everyday basis that also not receiving anything that's packaged in a plastic box with plastic, thermocol and all of these things. The fact that they're getting a box like this means that, hey, I don't need to, it's easier for me to also responsibly dispose of this and put it back into cycles. So
All right. So, so education products. I think it has been now 8 years, as per my research, and Bear had started. So, what's new right now at Bear? What's something different that is being taken as an initiative?
So the most exciting news of this year is the fact that we're B Corp certified. We're
All
the
right.
first Indian FMCG company to be B Corp certified, and this is huge news for us. It's been something that we've been working on for almost 3 years, 4 years easily. So B Corp is a gold standard when it comes to a company's social and environmental status. So, by being a B Corp company, we're telling our customers that we have a very holistic approach to being socially and environmentally responsible to our customers and the planet. So, that includes aspects from the way that we treat our workers, our employees, to the way that we interact with our customers, to the way that our environmental policies work, to the way that we interact with our larger community, beyond our customers, and also how we operate on a governance level from a company point of view, right? So it's a very holistic kind of assessment of a company that certifies that, hey, you are taking the right stance, you're a force for good, really, a business that's a force for good in the world, that's making consciously better choices for customers to buy from. So that's been one exciting news for us at Bear. And we've been working a lot over this year in kind of spreading our sustainability education initiative. So we did plenty of workshops for many corporates over the course of the World Earth Day and World Environment Day. And that's been really exciting. And we're in for a busy quarter.
Yeah, but talking about the B Corp certification thing, all the things you described. Now, of course, you as a communications supervisor or manager there have your perspective with this, but sounds like a lot of work that needs to be managed very properly. When you're saying your processes, waste management and policies and workforce and everything. So, have you ever felt that this is actually a very hard to do kind of task to maintain the B Corp certification level of, you know, sustainability and governance kind of structures?
It is. It is a very laborious process. We've been at it for a while. We started, I think, in 2021, if my memory serves me right, and it was done by almost four people. And I took over the process in 22, and I was in it till we got certified this year, and I continue to kind of oversee it. The thing is, the reason we decided to take on the B Corp certification, even though it's so taxing for a small enterprise, also, is because we really wanted to communicate to everybody, all of our stakeholders, that we are a responsible business. You know,
Hmm.
we're small, but we're responsible. We're making the right calls when it comes to right from the suppliers, the ingredients, the community, workers, in all of these aspects. And we found that B Corp was in alignment with the vision that we had. And
Okay.
that's why we also took it up, right? And it's been really good and effective in terms of communicating it to people. But it has been a very kind of intensive process that has been, taxing on all of us. And this matters because we have to sensitize everybody, right? So we have to talk to our suppliers on a regular basis. in telling them that, hey, this is the new policy that's going to be rolled out soon. So before we onboard suppliers, we require them to sign a supplier code of conduct.
Yeah.
And because we also work with a lot of these small scale suppliers who probably don't have the bandwidth to take on a certification, but they are ethical, right? To kind of
Mm-hmm.
explain it to them that, hey, you are, we require you to sign this, to then take them through the entire process. These things, like, it's very difficult to kind of map it on an Excel sheet, and to kind of quantify it becomes a little challenging, but it's certainly an important part of the entire process. And then within internally our team, right, like we do these weekly team activities, and each activity is about kind of sensitizing our team and telling them that, hey, these are the waste management practices in our office. So while it is a certification and it operates on kind of the macro level, in such saying that, hey, this is a new development for us, it also spreads in these smaller ways within the organization. And that's really gratifying, and even though it's a very kind of taxing, laborious process, it's totally
Mm-hmm.
rewarding.
All right. And I actually I had a question on how you manage your people, planet, and profit kind of agenda. But I'm kind of guessing that this ingrained sense of being a responsible business, not just as from a communications perspective, but actually implementing them in your processes, is somewhere what is helping you focus on the PPP of what you want to do. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. So we are a planet first company, by virtue of the products that we're selling and the services that we offer. But we're also a people first company, right? We
Mm.
really value the people who work for us and who, want to join a company like this because of the work that it's doing, for the impact that it's creating. So, like I was mentioning earlier, in doing that, when we're hiring people like this, it's also important that we orient them into this way of thinking, where we're putting the planet first. So even if you're not in a, say, direct communications role as mine, it's important that you are in alignment with the way that the company works and the way the company thinks, and to have that kind of outlook when you're communicating to other people, whether that be clients, whether that be corporates, whether that be online marketplaces, retail spaces, etc. And being financially prudent is important for a company to even sustain. That kind of goes
Of
without
course.
saying.
Yeah. Mm.
So trying to really maintain that balance has been something that's very important. And because we kind of work so closely as a team and we're constantly in interaction with each other, we're kind of able to achieve that balance and that sensitivity to all of these three spaces. So we try to create that environment at all times.
All right. All right. Shifting in my focus to the podcast, the Bare Thoughts podcast, which you have been leading for a while now. Uh, so, as a fellow podcaster, asking another podcaster, what's the podcast all about? What is your intent with the podcast?
So the Bare Thoughts podcast actually started way back during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Mm.
And when we first began, it was like an interview series, much like the one that we're doing right now. And we were speaking to a lot of these thought leaders in the space. So someone like Vani Murthy, Poonam Bir Kusturi, and many others. And these were, in-depth conversations. And it was on for a bit, and it kind of, we took a break, and then we restarted it last year. And when we decided to restart it, we thought, hey, we have this, why not, pick it up again? And instead of interviewing people, we decided to make it like a conversation about different topics within the team.
Mm. Mm.
Because each one is like very naturally kind of inclined to climate and sustainability in their own way. So why not bring that to the forefront was the idea that we had in mind. And then after that, we decided to make kind of bite sized content, which is what I'm hosting at the moment, which started about March or April of this year. And it's essentially these 6 to 7 minute clips,
Mm.
which we do, and we talk about different topics related to sustainability, related to climate. And we try to make it short and bite-sized so that it's easier for people to kind of consume. And it's been a fun experience kind of dabbling in different ways of podcasting.
All right. That sounds interesting. In fact, the shorter bits of knowledge can actually bring in a lot of people getting involved in this community for leading the action on climate. Uh, I myself had the pleasure to listen to a few of the episodes, and one particular episode uh, kind of sparked my interest in some way. And then you were talking about uh, a little bit on greenwashing or something of that sort, where you said that, and I quote, that marketing has a very loose grasp on what sustainability means, and effectively consumers get lured into products which are not actually that sustainable. So, as a person from communications background and someone leading that front, what kind of perspective would you give to the consumer so that this does not happen with them?
Um, as I was mentioning earlier, we have been noticing more consumers becoming more aware, trying to take a stand in their choices, in being more conscious with their purchases, in the lifestyle choices that they make. And we have been seeing kind of a gradual increase in the kind of customers that we interact with. And even in the smallest action, everything counts. So I think it starts with the intent, really. As a consumer, you are willing to go that extra mile to hunt a product that does not kind of harm the planet, right? So I think it starts with the intent of a customer. We as a brand can educate customers, and not just brands but even thought leaders in the space can educate, and we can read all these stats. But I think it should start, there should be like this intent from within a customer to make that difference, and we've been seeing that, and it's really heartwarming. And then I would say, after, when you're really searching for brands, an easy way to do it is to actually look for brands that maybe have some certification,
All
maybe
right.
an eco cert or a B Corp. For example, Fool, which is a brand that makes incenses,
Yeah.
right? I'm sure you must have heard of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Lovely brand. We really look up to them, and they're eco cert certified.
All
So
right.
you can know as a consumer that you are buying from a legitimate brand, that whose heart and work is in the right place, whose intent is in the right place. At the same time, I also want to state that it's not easy to get a certification, and it's not possible for everybody to get that certification because, as I was mentioning earlier, it's very time consuming, it's very intensive, and it may not be on the priority list for many organizations, right? Who are just maybe starting out and they're small. So in those cases, I'd say take the effort to understand the brand. What is the brand's intent? Who are the
Yeah.
founders? What do their backgrounds look like? What is their intent when it comes to starting this particular brand, right?
Okay.
And then maybe, what is the product itself? What are the ingredients that's going into it? What is the packaging looking like? Get into the final details. I know this is a lot of work, but if you are willing to go the extra mile to do so, it's totally worth it. You know, so these are some ways in which you as a consumer can be a little more mindful of the choices of brands that you are buying from.
You started with a very basic fundamental principle of intent. Like someone needs to intend to understand climate awareness, and I think as a podcaster like you, like what I'm trying to do here, to generate that intent, uh, the opinions, the ideas, or the kind of brilliant thinking needs to get out from people who are leaders in this space. So, similar to what you're doing probably with the Bare Thoughts, where you release short clips on certain ideas. So, uh, do you target that this intent gets developed, or what kind of hope or expectation do you have whenever you release an episode?
It's a really nice way of articulating it. Yeah, that's actually really, you've hit the nail on the head, which is that we really try to kind of sow the seeds of sustainability in our listeners, right? And we've also noticed that a lot of people want to make these products at home, which is really nice, because it's that thought that's extending, and I feel with Bare Thoughts, that's been the intention to kind of spread the word of sustainability, and in every domain, not just in products, and not just to kind of harp about Bare all the time, but to also talk about, say, sustainable travel, sustainable hotels and stays,
Yeah.
sustainable
Yeah.
fashion, because it
Yeah.
really it's really a lifestyle change, right, where you're
Mhm.
looking to be very conscious and mindful in each and every aspect of your life.
Mhm.
So I think that's the message that we're also trying to put out, and to create this repository of information for consumers, for them to be able to make that switch. And we try to do that through podcasts, we try to do that through our blogs, through the newsletters that we send out to our customers, to really kind of position ourselves to say that, hey, it's possible to make that switch in every aspect of your life.
Mhm.
And this podcast is one of the many ways in which we're able to put that message out.
All right. Now, if I have to ask you this, that in one line, can you describe what's the intent? So I'll give you an example. So when I release any episode, this is what goes in my head, that this should happen. That one person at a time. If I could get one more person to listen to things, I basically have generated or sowed the seed
Uh-huh.
of generating that intent towards climate. What is it like when you release an episode? If just a one liner kind of thing you can say.
To make zero waste living the norm and not the exception.
All right.
We end our podcasts on this note.
Yeah.
That's also the tagline of Bear, and I
Yeah.
think that's the intent.
All right. Uh, as again, coming at it as a fellow podcaster, do you think that enough awareness has been built around climate issues in general?
I mean, there is a lot of information out there, but it's always a work in progress. There is a lot of work to be done in this space. There is a lot of information. There is a lot of scope to kind of add to this. I think we can also kind of experiment with different forms of putting this information out. And I also noticed that beyond just climate first podcasts, even the other podcasts that I listen to, which are not necessarily sustainability or climate based,
Hmm.
even if it's about, say, something as different as, say, venture capital
Yeah.
or fashion, sustainability is a discussion that makes its way into these discussions.
Hmm.
So it's becoming more and more ubiquitous, and that's essentially what we want. It can't
Hmm.
be something which stays a niche forever. It needs to kind
Yeah.
of break out of that little bubble and become a part of the mainstream discussion as well. So I
Hmm.
think I find that very exciting, and I would like to see more kind of conversation happening about it, and it really coming into the forefront and becoming a very casual conversation. Because once that's done, once it's normalized, we will be able to see more people very naturally kind of taking to this path.
All right. And uh, you have been like releasing podcasts right now, probably on a niche, and like you said, you want to make it the norm, not the exception. And since you are directly as a communications person very much on the edge of interacting with the community, what kind of responses do you think are you getting firstly on your podcast, and do you think people would give if this becomes the norm?
And it's been like quite positive, I have to say. We have a very receptive community that we've built over time, that has an inclination towards these topics. And we also get responses from customers saying, "Hey, I really liked that you spoke about sustainability in fashion, but are there, say, shoe brands that are sustainable?" you
Hmm.
know so it's really gratifying to see people kind of branch out into
Yeah.
different spaces. Recently we received some message saying, "Hey, I'm trying to understand sustainability in kitchenware, sustainability in disposing of your electronic goods."
Hmm.
So the conversation is really kind of mushrooming in different spaces. And also, I have to say, like, of course, podcast is one aspect of it, but I also kind of have the opportunity to speak to customers one on one through a lot of the farmers markets and social media interactions that we do. And there is really kind of a rise that we've been noticing in people, taking to it. There's been a lot of brands, who are working in this space. So there's a lot of interesting work that's happening out there, and the bigger the better, and more the merrier.
All right. And talking about making it the norm, do you think we are eventually leading to a place which ideally should happen, where, like you said, any other topic and sustainability or climate should just be a part of it naturally? It does not have to be brought in. Do you think we are leading to a kind of content kind of future, where content is like this?
I do think so. At
Hmm.
least from what I've been noticing, I've been noticing in a lot of the podcasts that I listen to, a lot of the reading that I engage in, it's it just becomes a part of the conversation quite naturally, because a lot of consumers are looking for brands and are
Hmm.
looking for kind of mediums where sustainability and green initiatives are being highlighted, and there is room for it. Especially people in Gen Z and millennials are looking, for example, in fashion, they're looking for brands that say, "Hey, I use organic cotton. My material, I use natural dyes," for example, right? So when that demand is kind of coming in from consumers, brands kind of need to take that feedback and try to incorporate it in their actions. So that's really kind of nice to see, and to see that paradigm shift happening in that sense. And I just hope that this continues, and we try to make this the norm going forward, and it just doesn't stay a niche, and this becomes more really ubiquitous going forward.
Totally agreed. All right. So that was a great conversation on this. And with that, we turn our page to the climate rapid fire. Simple questions, 8 to 10 questions, where I'll ask you uh, kind of weird kind of questions,
Cool.
where you will give me a fast answer, short one, probably a one liner. That would be enough.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
All right. Let's go. Uh, a book, an article, a video, or any publication that you think is a must watch for anyone to understand the climate change issues.
Okay. Okay. I'll start with the book. So a book would be any, I think, Ruskin Bond,
Okay.
because I feel like it gives a very kind of, it paints a picture of nature, and I
All right.
think, instead of kind of painting a scary picture, or kind of scaremongering people into thinking, hey, something's happening, it'll be nice to just say, hey, this is how beautiful our world is. Here's how
Okay.
beautiful our mountains are, and this is what we should be working towards. So yeah, I think Ruskin Bond, any Ruskin Bond.
All right. All right. In your daily life, a sight that kind of angers you or troubles you the most, again, in the domain of sustainability.
I think mismanaged waste, like waste that's not segregated.
All right. Your favorite influencer or an idol that you look for when it comes to climate change.
Seher,
All right. This was kind of a known answer,
no
but all
brainer
right.
maybe, but
All
also
right.
Vani Murthy, I have to say.
Okay. Yeah. A brand who is doing great work, of course, apart from bare necessities, towards climate change.
I'd say Fool,
All right. A brand or company who you think has much more potential to do for climate change.
Bear. We have a long way to go, and I cannot wait to see how big we become in this space.
Interesting. That was not actually what I was expecting. All right. Your favorite place of travel.
I'd say, oh my god, this is tough. Pondicherry, maybe.
All right.
I really like going to
Now,
Google.
all right. Now at this place, you are allowed to put one board, as in a communication board, a big hoarding of sorts, and you have to write one message, a max a one liner, two liner kind of thing, with respect to environment. And it is ensured that you're going to get a million or a 10 million kind of impressions on this. What is the message you will write?
Segregate your waste.
Okay.
Manage your waste, yeah, but segregate your waste.
All right. You have a superpower to listen to one of nature's ecosystems, like forests, oceans, lakes, something of that sort. Whose problem would you like to listen to? And what do you think that problem will be?
Oceans. Yeah.
And the problem of
It's just the amount of plastic that we're mindlessly just dumping year on year.
microplastics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so oceans.
All right. You have one more power to
Uh-huh.
interview one organism other than humans.
Okay.
Who would you interview, and what do you think will be the topic of the discussion?
I think blue whales.
Okay.
Yeah, I think blue whales because it's the largest species and it travels across these, this large landmass. And because we were talking about water, I think probably blue whale
And topic of discussion?
would be its travel, its
Yes.
globe trotting.
All right. All right. Uh, Final question. Given $1 billion, what sustainability problem would you want to solve?
I'm going to sound like a broken tape recorder here, but waste. Yeah, I
All
think just tackling waste across all land masses from water to the environment, everywhere. Waste.
right, great. And that was a rapid fire. Thanks for making it rapid and really interesting. Great answers. And that marks the end of our episode. I hope you had a lovely time here, Veena. Thank you so much for giving your time. It was an actually great conversation to listen to someone who's also doing similar things that I'm doing. And hope to talk to you again.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much. I had a lovely conversation with you, and thank you, really. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Hey, thanks for listening to the episode. Please let me know your feedback and do share it with someone who might like it and is hopefully inspired by it. Positive Planet is dedicated to amplifying ideas and solutions that create a better world. So, if you know of any such idea that I should cover, please let me know in the comments or ping me on Instagram. The links are in the description. Most importantly, if we want to make this planet a positive one, we must stay together. So please be a part of the Positive Planet community and subscribe to this podcast. Thanks. See you soon.